When they look at constitution, they look it as an enumerative process that gives direction to the state on how to run the affairs. But there is also an ethical dimension of constitution, and that ethical dimension is upholded by those who understand wherever there is no morality, we have to put ethics and value together. In an absence of a loss of morality in a Brahminical feudal capitalist society, constitutional ethics are being pushed. And why is it pushed? Why is constitution an important document? We equate constitution with two fundamental things. What are those? The first, democracy, and the second, more importantly, equality. Whenever a subaltern thinks about constitution, he, she, or they are thinking about their fundamental rights. They are reminiscing what it was in the past and what it means to them have these basic rights. And these rights are meant to protect them and give them a standardized equality. And at places where the equality is not enough, idea of state-supported constitutional morality comes into picture, and it is here where policies like reservations are given. Now, when we think about reservations themselves are tantamount to the limitations. So when Baba Sahib thinks about constitution, Baba Sahib is not thinking of it as simply as procedural. He's not thinking simply it as a behavioral. Baba Sahib Ambedkar is making constitutional a transformational document. What is transformational about that document? Its ability to then transform the society itself. So constitution itself, that's why it is a living document, because it has the ability to transform the society. And how do you transform the society that is so deep-rooted in casteist virtues, so deep-rooted in feudalism? You do that by the support of the state. Let the state intervene, and in addition to that, let the state promote the values of freedom, liberty, and what it means to have an ideal brotherhood. So for us, when we think about constitution, we think about Maitri. Maitri is a different name of what we call in a Pali canon, Metta, the good wishes, a compassion for others. Fraternity is Metta, and Baba Sahib draws that idea from the enlightened one, Tathagata Gautam Buddha. He brings that fraternity, and when Baba Sahib is looking at liberty, equality, fraternity, he's saying it's not a French maxim that he's interested in. He's saying these are the values that he has learned in this homeland. That's why he keeps on going back to his own references and archives that is present. So now the constitution that we are celebrating, we have to start also looking at why is this constitution celebrated so much? Why and what are the investments in it? Why is Baba Sahib equated with constitution? How does Baba Sahib's picture immediately becomes related to constitution? It took nearly 7 decades of constant struggle of the Bahujans, India's Bahujan movement, to make that a possibility. It would not have been possible in a Congress-ruled state to even have such an appreciation of Baba Sahib Ambedkar, but it is to the credit of Bahujan movement that had made it possible. Not only Congress or BJP, also Communist and various other parties who have to now equate the genius of Baba Sahib with the genius of the country. And when we talk about Constitution of India, we are talking about the fundamental rights given to people day one onwards. Women in India were given right from day one onwards. Many countries took several decades to rectify it, but it is a genius of this India's constitution and the framers of India's republic who were so visionaries that they brought us to our own perspective. Now, when we look at constitution, there is another aspect of constitution that we have to pay attention to, which is emotional constitutionalism. What is emotional constitutionalism? Emotional constitutionalism is where emotions are poured even before fathoming the criticality of what that document means. What does this amount to is to create a certain politics of people to rally around idea of constitution and then have a political manifesto surrounding Constitution of India, when this should not have been the politics. Constitution of India itself is a declared neutral document. The paradox of Constitution. The second is the orthodox of the Constitution. The third is what I call detox of the Constitution. And the fourth, Xerox of the Constitution. Now, when you think about these four ideas, paradox, orthodox, detox, and Xerox, oftentimes these are the values attributed to when we think about Constitution in today's times. When they say the deniers, they always went to argue that Constitution is nothing but a Xerox copy of India's life. There will be no alternative to the Constitution that we have now available. And the paradox of the Constitution is that yet Constitution gives the same right, and at the same time the same Constitution is used to subterfuge, to undermine the rights of the same very people. And these are the paradoxes that we tend to live in. My dear friends, Baba Sahib's original Constitution was written in 1947. It was entitled States and Minorities. And the subtext is very interesting, what they mean for the minorities. And Baba Sahib here, very ironically, I was looking for the original copy, and the original copy is available on BJP party's library, which is e-library. And this is where I procured the document. Baba Sahib Ambedkar, when the Constitution Committee was being formed, was not inducted originally. And so there was an anxiety about if the Brahminical elites continue to write the Constitution, they will not consider the interest of the scheduled caste, the most marginalized people. And Baba Sahib was trying to put forth the argument that the scheduled caste are minorities with a special consideration. The elites disagreed with Baba Sahib. Baba Sahib Ambedkar continued to fight. 1947 States and Minorities is one of